Hi, Sarah. I wanted to take a couple of minutes and show you kind of an overview. This thread has gotten super long, and so I thought that it might be justifiable to spend a little bit of time this evening and show you kind of an overview of this thing in action as I've got it envisioned in my head. So I believe that this solution covers all the bases, meets all your requirements. It's kind of become a pet project of mine for nights and weekends. So I really hope this is what does the trick for you. So as you can see, I'm in a development org here. I've got everything cleaned out. It kind of a clean slate. Let's look at that process builder. As was mentioned in my last couple of posts, the only thing that's going to change really between all of these processes that evaluate based on that source 1 ready, source 2 ready, source 3, 4, 5 ready checkboxes. The only thing that's going to be different are the immediate actions. So you'll see that I've got my new budget record and my new actual record. As was mentioned in my last couple of posts, you can have one page layout now for both of these because the field that actually says record type, that's going to be the differentiator. It's going to be where your users are able to go, oh, this is a budget record or this is an actual record. But otherwise, the fields are the exact same, so there's no sense in keeping up two different page layouts. So in any case, back to this. Immediate actions, we've got new budget record, new actual record, child name. This is that formula that I talked about. Just kind of tidies things up, gives you a little bit more control over what the actual children records that are automatically being generated, what they're named. You can modify this formula to your heart's content. I mean, it's just really simple. Ampersand, quote, and then a space, and then whatever text you want, and then another quote, and then another ampersand, and then whatever field you want to insert after that. I mean, the formula structure is very, very straightforward. So feel free to change it as you would like. Parent, this is the same. Parent source, this is where we're manually entering a number for that parent source field that I mentioned a few posts ago. So we're putting a 1 in here because we're referencing the source 1 ready checkbox for both of these actions. Or in this process. When we look to the next process that references the source 2 ready checkbox, then this is going to be changed to the number 2. Very simple. Record type ID, this of course is for an actual record type, so this is the actual record type ID. For the budget record type, this would change. As you can see when I click over here, that's what it does. Notable that for the parent source field number, it's still 1 because, again, we're still looking at that source 1 ready. Now, when we duplicate this, or we just go into our other process, so we're looking at source 2 ready, again, it all hinges on this, so I'm going to kind of harp on it a little bit. Parent source number is then going to be 2 for both budget and actual. Okay, enough. You can see because it says deactivate that it's activated. Let's see how it looks. Like I said, it's a clean slate of an org. I'm going to create a new parent record, and I'm going to call this testing 1, 2, 3. Very creative, I know. Month, I just have all 12 months of the year. I'll say January. For year, I went 2015 through 2035. And I just selected some, whatever, sales, resales, upgrades, goodwill, price increase, just generic potential sources of income, I guess. So I'll say that the budget here was 100, and then this is 200, 300. You can tell I've tested this because it's automatically populating some of these for me, and then 500 down here as well. In this scenario, I'm only testing out for source 1 ready, and my goal is to be able to populate all of these, not populate any of these, and to not have something trigger that generates those 2 records, because we don't want records generated until both the actual and the budget amounts are in, right? So let's see if that happens. I'm going to hit save, and children records, nothing. Great. And that's because this box is not checked, and that's because there's nothing in this field. Now when I go ahead and put something in this field, I'll say 200, and I'll hit save, Instantly, the box is checked, and there's two children records that are created. You'll see that the naming conventions go into play for the child records. The record types are here. The source is sales and sales, and then the value is 200 and 100 respectively. So let's take a look at these children records. These are the fields that I asked you to get rid of: budget source, actual amount, budget amount. Whatever you ended up naming those, you can get rid of those because we've got the exact same information in a format that's automatically going to update whenever the parent record is updated. This parent source, you can hide that field from all of your users. They'll never use it. It's one of those admin only kind of helper fields. Time period, this is something that they'll probably want to see. And then the source, that's also something that they'll absolutely want to see. Let me go back to the parent record here real quick. I'm going to actually update a little bit of this information over here, and I'll say I'm going to put it $100 ahead of the budget, every one of these. So I'll say this one is going to be 300, this one's going to be 400, this one's going to be 500, and this one's going to be 600. Going to save all those changes. Great. Now, if I had built out the source 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 ready checkboxes, that would have just caused the 2, 3, 4, and 5 checkboxes to become checked, and then an additional 8 records would have been up here. So this would have said children and then 10 parenthetically over there. I didn't build that out because I wanted to get you a solution quickly, so it is what it is. Let's go back now over to the child records here. I'm just going to go to the budget one, and remember the formulas that I spelled out for you. They all are kind of hinged on this parent source number. So if I change that to a 2, in theory, this should change to resales, and the value should change as well. So let's see what happens. There it is, resales, and the value changed. If I'm now going to reference parent source number 4, well, it's going to go to Goodwill, and it's going to go to 400. Back here on the parent record, where did we go? Sorry, let's click here. Back here on the parent record, source 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You'll see that every time I change the number on the child record, it referenced this. What does that mean? That means field level security. You want to make sure, let me go back over here. You want to make sure that admins are the only ones that have the ability to change this, i.e., everybody else is going to be at the whim of the process builder and the admin. They're not going to be able to go in here and change this parent source. By default, the value is a formula, so nobody can change it. It is what it is on the parent record. Same thing with the source. And same thing with the time period. All of this, all of these fields are formulas, so they automatically get filled out. But what your last requirement was is, hey, what happens if somebody changes that value over on the parent record? Well, that's quite simple to do. I'm going to change this to 10,000. Can't miss that. And I'll say that the actual, I just forgot a 0. So this is actually, or a couple zeros. This is actually 20,000. I'll hit save. And I come back over here, and I'm going to change my parent source back to 1. And you'll see that the value here is 10,000. If I go over onto my actual one here, I'm sorry, my budget one, and I change that, now it's at 10,000. We're good to go. So next thing you need to look at is your reporting. So I'm going to populate a whole bunch of these and pause the video. This should only take me about 2 minutes. Pause the video, and then I'll show you a couple ideas that I had for reporting based on this data model. Hold on. Okay, so got 3 different parents here, which gives me a total of 6 different children. Just really quick and dirty here, but I wanted to show you this kind of stuff is possible now. You had wanted something where you could compare the actual and budget. And so a few things. One is that you'll notice that there's a 1, a 2, and a 3 before the Jan, Feb, or Mar abbreviations for the month. I did that because if I didn't do that, then the months / year, these wouldn't be in the order that they're supposed to be in. They'd go alphabetically. So if you do create a pick list for month and that kind of stuff, it's best practice to parenthetically put a number before it. Otherwise, most of the time, it's going to try and put them in alphabetical order. So you'll see here that I've got all my records underneath. Let me show you exactly how I organized things and got this. So it's a summary report, and so first level is the record type, and then the second level that's summarized by, or grouped by, sorry, is the time period. And then for the value on the child records, this is a child report. Value on the child report, I simply just did a sum of everything that showed up there. So pretty simple: child name, source, and then the value. And then I've got child record type, and then the time period here, and it generates this kind of stuff. If I wanted to, I could also, maybe I don't want to look at it by time period. So I'll put time period back up here, and I'll bring source down here. Now it's all going to be the same. Because I've really only got them grouped under sales. I didn't go in and customize that, but you could when we run this report now. Oh, sorry, I've got to edit this edit this chart here. My bad. Sum of values, record type, and I'm going to group them by source. So now you'll see that everything is in sales, but I could see this would be source 1, source 2, source 3, actual, and actual, because the x-axis primary sort or group, sorry, is by child record. If I put this by source and I made this one record type, then I'd see here's sales, actual, and budget. And then the next one over would be resales, actual, and budget. So in any case, you can play around with that. I'm not sure how proficient you are with reports, but it's pretty cool, and it's very simple. So using the data model that we've got set up now, we can do this. We can break it all out by source, as many wide as you like. We can break it out by just simply actual and budget. We can organize things more closely to the way that you like. So 12 minutes in, almost. I hope that this is the solution that you've been looking for. Please let me know. Thanks, Sarah.